the city, AM 1210 and FM 102.3. It is a beautiful Saturday, September 25th. It's 3 minutes after the hour, 12 o'clock. We've done our intros. You know what today is. It's the fourth Saturday of the month where we get the pleasure to have our local podiatrist and foot specialist in the studios with us to chat a little bit about Footsteps for Life. Good morning, Dr. Tanisha Richmond.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, as Medea would say.
Yes, good morning, good morning.
How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored and breathing on my own.
That is awesome. You've got a glow about you this morning. You got any news to share with us?
Well, I'll be at the concert tonight. I'm sponsoring a concert with Troop and Dave Hollister at the Schuster. So we made up close to 700 masks. So we'll be giving out mask information as people come in and letting people know that still may not know that I'm here in Dayton, Ohio. So that's going to be fun. You know, being, well, now I am a Daytonian, a transplant by way of Louisiana. I love to support any concerts that come to Dayton. Like I went to see Keith Sweat and people are like, well, why you don't travel? I said, because we have to support these people. Otherwise they won't come here. And it's nice to be able to go to a concert and be at home by 10. Or you can go, you know.
And not have to get in your car and travel another hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, yeah, I always like to go like certain places that are still open and you're safe and you don't have to worry about driving an hour, hour and a half or getting a room and all that. So I always try to support anytime they bring bring an artist to Dayton. I always try to support because they told us at one of the concerts, if y'all don't support it, we can't bring people here. They did that a couple years ago. I saw Kim at the Schuster and they told us, you know, you got to come out and support it. If you want us to keep bringing people to you.
So tickets are still available and they can get their tickets from the Schuster Center.
Right.
And you want to share any other information?
I think it just starts at 8. It starts at 8 o'clock, and you know, make sure you get there early, get your parking. You can always park. I know you can park right across the street in the parking lot, which is right across the street. Literally, you just walk across, and you know, we used to have some restaurants down there. I don't think we only got like 1 or 2 left that you can go to before the concert, but maybe Dayton will try and come back some more.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So Doc, you'd say you've titled your show for many, many years here on WDA Footsteps for Life. What does Footsteps for Life mean to Dr. Tanisha Richmond? Let's start there today.
Well, you take footsteps throughout your life. And, you know, as a podiatrist, we studied how you make those footsteps and physically how you do it biomechanically and musculoskeletally, you know, because we were trained to learn, like we're watchers. Like if you get a bunch of podiatrists in a mall, we will just sit there for hours together trying to figure out why is this person walking this way, we're like, well, you think it's their hip, is it their knee, is it their back, oh, they flat-footed or they this. So as a podiatrist, we watch your footsteps, and it's so many reasons why your footsteps may be incorrect or abnormal. Like if you walk like a duck, that means you're flat-footed, and people are like, well, he walked like a duck, what can he do? Nothing.
That's an interesting question. How should we be walking?
You should walk. No, you should walk straight when you walk. But some people can't. So if you're severely flat-footed or pronated, which means flat, you walk abducted like a duck. And that's just because of the way your arch drops. It makes you angle out.
When our feet hit the ground, what should hit the ground first?
Usually it's your great toe and then all your other toes follow you. But like say if you're a high arch person, they tend to get calluses more under their med heads and under their heel. They never get calluses in their arch because their arch never touches the ground. But then I have people who are severely flat. They may have calluses along their arch. They have calluses in different places. And then if I have a person with bunion versus hammer toes, and then I had a lady who had deformities from birth. So she was missing toes. I think she had like 5.5 toes, maybe 6.5 toes. But she was born that way. So she had a lot of deformities as far as calluses, a lot of pain, a lot of issues with shoes because her feet were abnormally shaped, but it was from birth. But realistically, the only thing that could be done for her, really realistically, would be some kind of surgery to balance out her foot biomechanically. And when we talk like that, we're basically talking like a car. So if you have 4 tires, if one tire's off, then the car rides funny. And the same thing with your feet. If one foot's off,
the balance is off.
The balance is off, and things start hurting your back, your knees, it can go even as high as your jaw. You'll start having pain, headaches because you're off. So when we say footsteps, it's not just the pretty little, cute little footsteps you see. It's for a podiatrist, it's serious business.
You know, what's interesting, we get a lot of comments, Dr. Richmond, is unique comments about your show. And we had a listener actually tell us that, I feel like I could have a talk show. Dr. Richmond makes it seem so easy and exciting and comfortable. And I like to feel like I am a relationship expert and I want to talk to my friends about relationships. So can I do a show on relationships? So it's interesting how you have inspired other people to have a talk show.
Well, now everybody has talk show. Everybody's blogging, podcasts, TikToking, ticking, Snapchatting. What I mean, you can build.
It just shows that we all have something to say.
We do, and we have somewhere to say it and a platform to say it on. And now there's so much education out there where you decide, like I had a patient, he said, I'm vegan and I can't find nothing good to eat. And I went to YouTube and Googled the soul food vegan. I actually have her cookbook. And I was like, you didn't know about her? And he was like, I said, so you have homework. You have to go home and watch her and follow her recipes.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, everything a patient will say, well, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, Google it. I mean, everything is data and information is at our fingertips, whether it may or may not be correct, but it's at our fingertips. So I think that's why people are so empowered. And then I think the pandemic made people pivot because they may have lost their job. They may have, they were locked in their house. They were bored and they had to find something else to do with themselves. And I think that's why our whole economy and culture is changing. I mean, you never talked about, I'm going to be doing a Zoom today. You just say Zoom and people know what you're about to do. You said that 10 years ago, Zoom what? Zoom, they think you're talking about a song. But now, oh, you got a meeting? Oh, what time's the meeting? Do you have your background set up for your Zoom? Is your mic ready?
Right, exactly.
So our whole culture is changing. So I think that's why people are veering into different things and becoming entrepreneurs. And because it's, okay, I'm in this situation. How can I fix it? And people are thinking and okay, I can do this to make my life easier, then I can tell other people.
Dr. Richmond, with all that's going on in America, in our personal lives, in our work lives, we all realize we have to continue to pivot and move on and do what we have to do. When you think about footsteps for life and what people are dealing with in the now, what would you suggest some of our footsteps for life be? There are some people at this point that are saying, I have been deprived for an entire year,
yes.
year and a half, from family, from friends, just for doing things that keep my sanity. What would you say to those individuals?
You gotta find different things that keep your sanity. My friend will be calling in later. I'm part of a book club, listening to books, changing what you watch on TV. You have to find your joy. You have to make your joy. You can't depend on others to make you happy.
And someone else's joy is not going to necessarily be the same as yours.
No, because, I have a Chihuahua, and he's my joy. Playing with Ernie, taking him for walks, watching him chase animals, or just going for walks. And when you go outside, you commune with nature and you start to pay attention to things that you never thought were important. But then you kind of walk and you say, okay, the squirrels ain't worried about COVID. The birds are chirping, the hedgehogs running around, the bunnies eating up everybody's garden. So you have to find your place, and hopefully you can find it without using any illegal substances to find your happy place. But you personally have to find it. If it's through religion, meditation, hobbies. Like a lot of my older patients, I tell them, I always talk about this study I read about there were some nuns that lived like to be 100, and none of them had dementia. They did crossword puzzles every day. And I tell a lot of my older patients, keep your brains active, do puzzles. Even if you're doing all the little games on the phone, you're still utilizing your brain. You got to keep those cells active. So, I guess now we have to be more mindful of what we take in. We can't take in all the garbage. We have to just say, okay, this is my cutoff. I'm not going to watch all this negativity and fussing and fighting. I need some peace in my life, because it will tear you down mentally and physically.
So, Doc, you've got some experience in that, and you work with so many patients and different groups and individuals. What would you suggest, from your perspective and in your opinion, of course, when you talk about finding that peace, finding that tranquility, finding that space of reverence just for your own sanity? What would you suggest individuals do to do that?
Go outside and walk. If you could walk in your park, walk in your neighborhoods. One thing about Ohio, we have some beautiful parks, and they are so long and deep. I mean, you could walk for hours in our parks and just commune with nature. I know the newest thing that happened since the pandemic are bird watchers. There's a lot of new bird watching groups. You can go to the local parks. They actually have classes where they take you out and train you on the birds, train you on bugs. I mean, it's all kinds of different free things that are available in our community to get you out and about. And then, of course, walking is exercise. And if you walk outside, you're more likely to walk longer. Especially being in this climate, a lot of us are vitamin D deficient. So when we go outside, we make vitamin D by the sunlight. And then the sunlight also helps us mentally, because in this part of the country, a lot of us suffer from seasonal affective disorder, which is lack of sunlight. We get depressed. And I actually can tell, like when I go to Cleveland, totally different personalities than when I go to Louisiana. And
What attributes to that?
it's the lack of sunlight, because your body, we need sunlight, and because we make a lot of hormone, like the vitamin D's and different things. We need sunlight, and if you don't get sunlight, you get depressed. I lived in Cleveland. I would get depressed in the winter, but when I go home to Louisiana, where it's pretty much always sunny, it's like I just perk up like a flower because of the sunlight. So, but it's getting out of your comfort zone. Like, if you can't purchase books, go to the library. You can check out books, you can check out movies. I think you can even download books on tape through your library app.
Mm-hmm.
So, check out different cultures, different societies, different times in our history. I mean, it's being an African American, our stories are so dynamic. We are not just descendants of slaves. We are descendants of investors and business owners. And I mean, it's so much that they don't tell us about ourselves unless we find it. And it's out there, but it's for us to find. Because now I hear the latest thing is to teach anything on racism. They're having a fit. They want to forget all that stuff. But we can empower ourselves and learn it for ourselves, and then empower ourselves, empower our children, and empower each other. So,
And Dr. Richmond, when it comes to race relations and sharing information, Um, what do you think it is that each individual can do other than just talking about it?
I honestly, I think it's just living. It's just being you. Do you. Be your true, authentic self. And a lot of it ain't racism. People just crazy. I mean, I've had patients come in, they're going off on me, walking in the door angry. It had nothing to do with what I did, what my staff did, what day it was. They were coming in mad anyway. So a lot of this is projection of their own issues. It has nothing to do with what we do or what we're not doing. So once you understand that and you just try to treat people with dignity and respect, you don't have to necessarily worry as much about racism. But to pivot on that, today I wanted to talk about some different forms of swelling that I see in the lower extremity. This past week, I've seen several patients coming in with venous stasis ulcers. So venous stasis ulcers are ulcers that usually are caused by excessive swelling. They're ulcers that usually present first as blisters. So you'll start to see blisters all along your calves, your shins. Lots of times the ulcer will be on the inside of the ankle. The skin texture over time will change. We call it elephantitis because the skin starts to look like elephant skin. If you're African American, it's usually 2 or 3 shades darker than the rest of the skin on your leg. It's usually dry and crusty and itchy. If you're Caucasian, the skin is usually turning a brownish, reddish discoloration. And usually the calves are really, really big. And then also, most of the time, they have a lot of varicose veins. So when I see patients with venous stasis ulcers, the first thing we have to do, well, firstly, is get those ulcers covered. Because usually in a venous stasis patient, they have multiple ulcers. And lots of times they have ulcers on both legs. So we generally will clean up the leg. We'll cover each ulcer with something called Silvadene, which is an antibacterial ointment. And we usually wrap them in 3-layer dressings. So that gives the leg compression. So it'll milk the swelling out of the leg. And once you milk the swelling out of the leg, usually the ulcers will close over time. And that is a dressing change that if we can get home health, they'll change it every 2 days, or they can come in and get it changed in my office every 5 to 7 days. So the other issue that we have to decide when a patient comes in with a lot of swelling is also why are they swelling. So that's why we ask just such a thorough history to patients. I know patients will come in like, well, I'm just here for my bunion. What does my heart have to do with my bunion or my kidneys or my liver? Well, the reason why we want to know about your heart, kidney, or liver, especially if you're swelling, is if those organs work. Because if you're in heart failure, you're going to have chronic swelling. If you're in kidney failure, you're going to swell. If you're in liver failure, you're going to swell. If you have high blood pressure, you're going to swell. And then also, when I look at your skin, if I see a lot of varicose veins and they're large and they're everywhere, you're more likely to swell. And that's the kind of history that we ask, that my medical assistants will ask, or if you come in and use our iPad to check in, we ask those kind of questions. And then they'll say, well, what about the kidney and the liver? Well, because every medication that I write has to be cleared from your body. So it has to be cleared either by your kidney, liver, or your gut, your stomach. So that's why we ask about how all these different systems work. And then, especially if the swelling is caused by heart failure, then I need to be in contact with your cardiologist trying to see what level of heart failure you have, because I can't push too much fluid up to the heart because I can overload your heart and push you into worse heart failure. Well, it looks like we have a caller on the line. Good morning.
How are you doing, Dr. Richmond?
Oh, how are you doing?
Pretty good in the beautiful state of Texas.
Okay, and who's calling today?
This is Dr. Johnson
Okay.
from the Good Read Book Club.
All right. So what book are we going to discuss today?
We're going to discuss The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Haller. And basically, it's a really good book, but it does have some sensitive content. The whole story takes place in Cape Cod, and it starts off with a couple in an infidelity with a long-time friend. From there, the story unfolds. We find out secrets of the family. You find out more about legacy of abuse, and you also find out about more intrigue that you're going to have to read the book to find out.
Yes, I read the book as well. It was a really good read, and like you said, it had a lot of twists and turns, some adult content. It brought up a lot of issues from childhood friends, and step brothers and sisters, and mother-daughter dynamics. But it was a good book. I would suggest anyone to read it. So when will we do a official book club discussion of the book?
The official book club discussion will be October 10th, 6 o'clock. It's on Facebook. It's streaming live. Join on in. You can catch us at a Good Read Book Club. A Good Read BCP. And that's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Oh, you're on TikTok now.
Yeah, we're on TikTok. You can also go to the website, which is www.bookclubpublishing.com. And we're also looking for chefs and authors to feature their books and to have chefs featured. So if you have anybody in the area that can cook a really good meal, we're looking forward to meeting you also.
And then that coincides. Now, if the chef wants to come on, do they need to bring a book that they like that's relevant to what they're cooking, or just?
No, they don't have to bring a book. Basically, we have different books and authors, and we co-feature them.
Okay.
So they would cook something that's a specialty to that time or that place. Like this book is taking place in Cape Cod. I would love to have a nice lobster roll. So somebody might have a twist on that.
Okay.
So just incorporating different things, food and drink,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to enjoy a good book and spend time with friends and family and loved ones.
Okay. All right. So since you have you on the phone, Dr. Johnson, I was just talking about swelling in the lower extremity, and I was talking about like Jones compression dressings, things like that. And you work in the VA system. Do y'all have any other newer modalities that y'all use for like venous stasis ulcers or chronic swelling?
It's still the same. You still have your sequential compression devices that you can get and they can have and use on a daily basis in corporation with your Jones compression, or you could use your trusty old compression stockings. We do have Juxta Wrap, which are compression stockings that go to your ankle, and then it has a compressive garment at the top, because a lot of patients can't put the compressive stockings on due to arthritis, inability. It could just be simply they can't bend down to get to it. So that's been a really good adjunct to add in.
Yeah, I forgot about the pumps. Can you talk a little bit more about that? The sequential compression pumps, how they work?
The sequential compression pumps, you can basically place them on. Most of the time you have to wear them for 30 minutes. We would love for you to wear it for 60 minutes, but most patients, if they can get in 30 minutes a day, it really reduces the swelling. So it works with a device that pushes the fluid up from the feet, and it just circulates it up to the side, because you can wear it from your foot all the way up to mid-thigh.
And of course, that's a prescription that has to be written by us, or they're like the primary care physicians.
It has to be written by your primary care physician, it can be written by your podiatrist, or you could be going to a wound center and they can prescribe it, or a lymphedema clinic. But basically, it's an adjunct. You still need to, when you're just sitting around the house, do the beautiful thing we always say you do, elevate your legs above the level of your heart. And that does not mean sit in your recliner. You can put some pillows on top of that recliner, the bottom half, to get those legs up. It doesn't mean just putting your foot on the ottoman. That means putting a pillow or two pillows underneath. Make sure you can put it below your knee for your feet can dangle off, especially if you have any areas that could induce a pressure ulcer. Okay?
Yeah. Now, do y'all have any new treatments for lymphedema?
Now, there is no new treatment. Basically, a lot of it is still the same.
Yeah.
Still basically the same.
Just the compression, multi-dressing,
Still the
daily
compression.
compression.
Now, we do send people out to the vein clinic, and they can do different other procedures.
Yeah.
That's just another adjunct, but there's nothing new.
Okay.
But if the patients hold true to what has been used as a gold standard, we can get
Some of the swelling.
decrease in the swelling.
Yeah.
It's a team thing. You have to work together. We need the patients to work with us. We are there for you.
This is true. Well, again, Dr. Johnson, tell us again the name of the book club. Now, the books, don't you also have an Amazon page?
Yes, we also have a bookstore, and we support local bookstores in your area. They'll just pull the book from a bookstore that is around your area that's associated with bookshop. So we also have that on the page to support and keep everybody in business and keep the bookstores flourishing. We also have merchandise. We have
What is this? What's the name of the Amazon page?
it's still a Good Read Book Club.
So everything's a Good Read Book Club across all your platforms. Even if they want to go find you on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok.
Good Read BCC.
Okay, book.
All across. Even if you're on LinkedIn, you want to get your company to sign up and be a book club member, everybody can be reading books that belong to the company, and we can enjoy a good meal together.
Okay, and that's through LinkedIn.
That's through LinkedIn. But you can go to the website. It has all the general information. You can sign up for the free membership that's going to send out a newsletter and continuously tell you about what's going on in the community. And when we would start showcasing and having more of the chefs, and again, that's www.thecustpublishing.com, and all that information is there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling in today, Dr. Johnson. And I know it's a lot warmer down there than it is here. I think we're only in the 60s.
It is 82 degrees. I've been sitting on the patio drinking ice water.
Well, we up here wearing jackets. We pulling out our winter clothes. I've been looking at my winter hat. No, we got rain today. We're good. Well, you have a great day, Dr. Johnson, and thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Richmond. You have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye. So, like Dr. Johnson was speaking of, so she's in a different part of the country and then in a different system, the VA system. Because in the VA system, from my experience when I was a resident, lots of times I get access to different modalities, sometimes faster than the private sector. So, but once again, like she said again, with the swelling, keeping your legs elevated, compression stockings, the lymphedema pumps, and those actually are custom sleeves that are made, prescribed and made for you, where you wear the pumps at home, like she said, 30 minutes to an hour a day, and those actually just slide over the legs, and they actually milk the fluid out of your legs. And those are qualified by lymphedema, which is like the huge legs you may see on certain people. Their legs are like 2 to 3 their normal size, and sometimes you may see it only on one leg, or people with chronic swelling, or people with chronic ulcers of the legs as well.
So it's interesting, each month, Dr. Richmond, you have Dr. Johnson on, and she talks about the book read club. And have you noticed a difference of people, like maybe some of your patients that are avid readers, or those that you know that are really getting engaged with the book club and learning more about what to read and what books are good to read and how to just empower themselves through what they read?
Well, I have a lot of patients that are avid readers because they'll bring their books with them to appointments, and we'll sit and talk about their books and what they're reading and where they get their books, and I, of course, will mention some of the books that I'm reading, and but a lot of my patients are very genre specific, so they only read
Just like their music, they like their
yeah,
certain
yeah,
genres
they
of
have like certain authors or certain types of books. So, but actually in my offices, I keep books in every room. So I like to go, whenever I go, like to a Goodwill, garage sale, Habitat, I look at the books because I have a lot of books. I love to get like diabetic cookbooks. I have books on all kind of health tips. I found a healthy living tip book for dog owners and pet owners, how to keep their dogs and other pets healthy. So I'm very much on education and knowledge in my office as well, and I find patients really enjoy the books. They actually teach me things. They're like, did you know what a rutabaga will do for your high blood pressure? I was like, no, tell me. So they actually read the books, and I know they like to make copies of the recipes, and I always tell them take a picture of the book and get it from the library or buy it from Amazon. But my goal is to empower the patients to take ownership of their own health care. And the more you empower and the more you can educate the patient, the healthier the patient will be. Because if they understand truly what makes them sick, and then they can understand how to change those behaviors, they can ultimately make themselves healthier, not just with medication, but with lifestyle changes.
And Doctor, I know we've got a caller will be with you in just a moment. And for those of you that have questions or comments for Dr. Tanisha Richmond, you can call us here live at WDAO 937-457-1210. For those individuals that really have to, you mentioned making choices, that's intentional about your health. And it's a process. It's not something that you expect to have done immediately or overnight. Or next
No.
week, I'm going to stop eating meat. It doesn't work like that.
No.
And some people really can stop abruptly, but
most people can't.
Life is about
change.
Process.
Yeah, it's an environmental thing. You have to change your entire lifestyle. Like I'm diabetic, but I've been diabetic 20 years. So I live the diabetic lifestyle. I eat, breathe, think daily of, what can I eat versus what should I eat. So, but it was a decision that I had to make the day they gave me that diagnosis. I had to decide that day, okay, I want to live. I don't want to die. I don't want to go blind. I don't want to go on dialysis. I don't want my legs cut off. And I had to make the decision. I'm going to do everything I can to stay healthy.
That's great advice, Dr. Richmond. We'll take your questions or comments here on Footsteps for Life with Dr. Tanisha Richmond. You can also reach Dr. Richmond at 1323 West 3rd Street. That is West Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Way. You can also call the office at 937-228-3668. We're going to go to the lines and take your calls now. Good afternoon, caller. Your first name, please.
I'm DR. Hi, Dr. Richmond.
Hello.
But my question is for two African American mothers. With respect to how you feel about having children under 12 vaccinated. I'm just curious because I've never had a chance to ask two African American mothers that question together. And there was two here today, and I can call in. So I just wanted to, personally, I feel God bless children with the perfect immune system. They'll put anything that they can get their hands on in their mouth.
What?
The immune system is just that strong. Your car keys, if you let them, and they don't tell you what the keys do. The dog's tail, your toe.
Okay. Well, the thing about that is with the pandemic and with COVID-19, it's brand new to the entire world. So it's brand new to our immune system. So the reason that they're giving people a vaccine is to introduce the immune system to the virus without making you sick. So it's kind of like it kind of knocks on our immune system and says hello and it introduces it. So the cells that fight off infection, when they see that virus or that virus comes into your system, the immune system's ready to kill it off. But I'm fully vaccinated. I've already had the booster. I'm all for children getting vaccinated. And the point to all of this is we've been getting vaccinated against so many diseases our entire lives. And this is just a new disease. But I think it's just in a new time where people have so much access to information and incorrect information as well. So I have no problem with, I mean, as long as the FDA and the CDC says it's okay, I'm all for giving vaccines to children because for one, like what you said, children touch everything. They touch themselves, they touch each other. They'll sneeze, they'll wipe their face, they'll wipe their friend's face. So they need the extra help to protect themselves because they don't understand boundaries like we do.
I don't think you can deal on perfection. The immune system is like it is already for a reason.
Yes, but it sometimes it needs help. And in this case, we want to help your immune system so it's ready to go to war when that virus shows up. Your immune system will be ready. Your soldiers will be ready. And that's basically what it's doing. It's telling your immune system this is coming and be ready.
Does Nana make you feel that way?
I don't know her opinions. I can only speak of my own.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for the question. It is truly Dr. Richmond's show, but it is a very great question that you have, and I think relative to everyone's individual children, they have to make that decision. We are required by our pediatricians to have our children vaccinated with all of their required immunizations before they return to school. So I think in that respect, when it comes as almost as a mandate, you don't have a choice.
Yes, or you have to homeschool them.
In school without the immunizations up to date. And we are hearing that it could get to that point, and if things continue to progress in the coronavirus pandemic, I'm sure at some point it is going to get to that point eventually that it will be a mandate for us to have our children vaccinated. It's a very valid question. Right now, it's more of a personal, question. It's a personal interest for people because some people, because they do have that option,
yes,
they don't want to do it or they choose not to do it. When you do the immunizations, we don't have that option. So I think that's the difference.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your response. I was just curious.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your call today. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
The lines are open for you at 457-1210. Interesting questions. We will take your questions or comments here with Dr. Tanisha Richmond. It is Saturday, September the 25th. It is a beautiful Saturday. A little cool, but it's a beautiful, beautiful Saturday today. And we are on Footsteps for Life, which is heard on the fourth Saturday of every month here on WDAO AM 1210 and FM 102.3. We're going to go back to the phone lines and see if we have a caller there. Hello, caller. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I am doing well. And it sounds like the two of you are also, and I appreciate you. I was calling to also give a boost for what is true. Besides getting the quality medical care and comfort of our feet, or my feet, I can speak about especially. It also has we do learn about other things. It has a vast variety of things to learn about at doctor's office. There are books, and I truly appreciate books, and I learn things from the book that she has in the rooms, and also the various articles that you have there, doctor.
Thank you.
That one may purchase.
Okay.
For me, I check about your toenail polish for in the summertime. That would be conducive to the kind of feet or the problem I have with my toes with fungus from time to time. So have that available, but there's a lot. And the book, and the book.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the books.
Yes, yes. And the staff too. I appreciate the staff.
Thank you. Thank you. We work hard to give you good care. And, me being an avid reader, I want my patients to read and learn as much as possible.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, you both have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments today. Have a
Thank
good
you for
day.
calling in.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Bye-bye.
We'll take your calls at 937-457-1210. It's very interesting, Dr. Richmond, of what people think about the whole entire pandemic. Everybody has their perception
Yeah.
of not just the vaccine, but just COVID in general. Even the fact that some places are enforcing, and there are other places that are leaving it an option, then there are other places that are just suggesting it for us to continue to wear a mask. But you've said this before, you think that people should choose based on their personal connection with the whole pandemic. I mean,
Yeah.
just because those are vaccinated doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get it.
Well, no, I've known 2 people so far that have had breakthrough infections, but luckily they weren't hospitalized, put on ventilators.
Mm-hmm.
They were able, and now there's newer treatments like the antibodies. You can get those. I would suggest to anyone that as soon as if you do test positive, to request to get the antibody treatment, and that's through your primary care or hospital or urgent care or ER, because actually it helps the immune system fight off the infection, and it helps you recover quicker. And being a physician and a patient myself, being diabetic, thus makes me high risk. And then also being a physician, I have probably the exposure to 30 to 60 different people a day. So understanding that, I want to take every precaution to stay healthy and stay alive. And then, also being from a funeral home family, I know for sure that it's real. I talked to my brother, who's a mortician, my father, who runs a funeral home, and they're in Louisiana. So it's like, well, how y'all, what's your numbers? Oh, we got a couple COVID bodies, and we got a couple funerals, and then the fact that the funerals are so drastically different. They can have an empty casket, no casket. They can be cremated, but they're straight to the ground. There's no, viewing of the body, none of that, because of the high risk of the body even after death, because the virus is still alive for a while. So they can infect the morticians and put them at risk for handling the bodies. So, there's so much out there.
That's a big discussion, Dr. Richmond, because I think that's something a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, when I tell people that, they don't know it, because I didn't know until my brother told me. When he goes, if it's a COVID body, when they go to the morgue, it goes from the bag to the casket. It's never touched. It's never processed, nothing. Because it's too high risk, because it's not like AIDS where it's bloodborne, it's airborne. So if you try to embalm the body, open the body, you have to pretty much be in a complete hazmat suit. Because it's potential of the virus spreading that way. And then when the vaccine came out, they were in the first group to get vaccinated as well, because they're so high risk, because they're going into hospitals, they're going into nursing homes, they're going into homes, picking up bodies that, could infect them and make them sick. So, people, I think, really need to make a conscious effort to get accurate information. Like I said, don't be listening to Bebe and Boo Boo or these websites, or you really need to go to the media. You really need to go to the CDC site, the FDA site, to sites like the health department sites that you've trusted your entire lives, but now for some reason you don't trust them. But these are the same organizations that have kept us alive through every other disease: polio, measles, mumps, rubella. I mean, we talk about polio. Polio is gone. diseases that have come to us that are eradicated. But, that's the same goal that they're trying to do with COVID. But like with polio and all these other diseases, everyone had to be vaccinated for it to happen. Mm-hmm. And as long as we fight it, it's going to keep hanging around. So, but you need to go to reliable sources. I would stay away from some of these websites, your cousins and them. Unless they have a degree in immunology, they're a physician of infectious disease or a scientist who makes vaccines, or works at the CDC or the FDA, or a physician, I wouldn't really trust what they have to say. Well, I don't trust what they have to say.
So it's one of those things, Dr. Richmond, where you truly do have to read it and understand it.
Yeah, it's some, I've been on Netflix. It's some great documentaries on it, and they talk about other viruses that have come and gone, like Ebola is still around, but they have learned how to contain it, treat it. There's been other outbreaks who were luckily contained and weren't able to spread worldwide like this, but we didn't pay attention to it because it was contained. It was able to be contained. Mm-hmm. Unlike with this virus, it wasn't. And so now people totally disregard all the other things that have happened, especially under President Obama. He had a whole coalition he created, and our previous president, I guess, threw it away and defunded it. But, he was handed a whole division to handle something like this. And luckily we have a new president who believes in science and believes and understands and trusts the scientists and trusts science. And that's what we have to do to fight this. We have to trust and believe in the science.
Speaking of science, and we're going to take a short break. Very interesting how we have navigated through this last hour, but very great information, Dr. Richmond, that you bring in, that you just kind of allow individuals to entertain their own concerns and thoughts about what you bring to the conversation for Footsteps for Life. But when we come back, you often talk about your specialty being the feet, but you deal with the body truthfully from head to toe, and that's why you have a concern when patients do come to see you. You need to know their medical history and their background.
Because the feet are attached to the body. It's not an independent organ.
That's right. And so when you talk about science, we also want to talk about, when we come back from the break, what it has done to the mental health of some people. And we want to talk a little bit about what people can do from your perspective, and what you can share with individuals medically, what people can do to get through this whole entire pandemic. And because we have discussed it, we know that coronavirus, COVID-19 is at the top of the mind of most of the world today, just in our everyday living and things that we do, the shops that we go to, and visits that we have. But just as it is for all of us here at WDAO Radio, we do want to say that our thoughts do go out to those who have been affected by the virus, and all the care workers and caregivers who work tirelessly. We know they do on the front lines of the crisis, including yourself, Dr. Richmond. So thank you. We thank all of you that are continuing to get through this situation. We really do value and appreciate you. So with that said, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back. If you have questions or comments for Dr. Tanisha Richmond, she is our local podiatrist and foot specialist here in our city. We want you to call us at 937-457-1210.